Hey Dwight, this is Dabo over here at Clemson. I just wanted to take a second to, first of all, just congratulate you on being in the South Carolina Hall of Fame, and also just to thank you for who you are, the blessing that you have and will continue to be to so many people. Sorry I couldn't be there tonight, but just also want to thank you for two of my most prized possessions that I have. One is this bottle of wine that you signed and sent to me, 25-year edition of The Catch, and then my ball that you sent me, that you signed and had the catch, red left slot, sprint right option, and you had it, although it's kind of faded, I might need you to trace over it here, but anyway, Montana to Clark, and this is one of the coolest things that I have in my office here. So just really appreciate that. But a funny story, Gene Stallings, who was my coach, he came and to my office when we first moved in over at the old building, and I had this ball sitting out there right in front, and he walked by and he said, "Hey, what is that?" And I said, "Oh man, Coach, Dwight Clark played at Clemson, and he sent me this ball. He made the catch, and I'm not really thinking." Coach Stallings is looking at me like he's fixing to burn a hole through me, and he said, "You do realize I was the defensive backs coach for the Dallas Cowboys?" He said, "I'm well aware of what that play is." So I just kind of said, "Oh, we'll move on to something else." But anyway, so had a lot of fun with this, and man, just wish you all the best. God bless you. Praying for you. And I hope it's a great night tonight.
Good evening. My name is Steve Fuller, and I've been given the honor and privilege of talking about my dear friend, Dwight Clark. I'm going to speak to you tonight about number 30, Dwight Clark. I know most of you are saying, well, Dwight Clark was 87. Yes, he was. And 87 was the one that won those Super Bowls, and 87 was the one that caught that amazing catch. But I remember him as 30. He came to Clemson with me in 1975. He was my roommate, my running mate, my teammate, and I prefer to remember him like that. He caught my passes as number 30, and that's how I remember him. Dwight, let me begin by saying congratulations, Roomie. A well-deserved honor, well-earned honor. Couldn't happen to a greater guy. I am truly blessed to call you my friend, and for 43 years we've loved and talked and learned and got through some tough times, had some really good times, and I congratulate you on this night. The football landscape in 1975 at Clemson University was not quite what it is today. We're used now to championship games and top-rated recruiting classes. In 1975, we had about 20 years since we'd been to a bowl game, and despite the fact that we had a really good recruiting class that included Joe Bostic and Jerry Butler, of course Dwight, Randy Scott, there was high hopes, but it had been a long time since we'd been good. And in 1975, Dwight, we were not very good. We were 2-9. Coach Parker was not real happy. We weren't real happy. Some injuries involved, some young players playing involved, but we just weren't very good. And the reason I bring this up was because the spring of that year and our spring practice, it was a war. It was competitive as heck, and Dwight Clark was the star of that spring practice. That's when he started to show his toughness, his resilience. Unfortunately, we left spring practice in 1976 with Dwight Clark, my good friend, as the starting strong safety at Clemson. Yes, you heard that right, strong safety. And he didn't like it much. I didn't like it much because I wanted him catching my passes. And I remember the phone call like it was yesterday. Coach Parker called the house and said, "Steve, Dwight has gone home. You need to go up to Charlotte and get him." And I said, "Excuse me?" I said, what's going on there? And that's a true statement. Dwight wanted to play offense and had left school for a few days and had headed home to try to decide whether he was going to come back or play basketball at Appalachian State. Dwight was a very good basketball player. In fact, we'd played on some intramural teams together, and he was excellent. And they had offered him coming out. So Cliff Bray and I got in my car, and we drove to just outside of Charlotte to sit down at the Clark home and try to convince Dwight to come back. Unfortunately, after a few hours, we did. We convinced him he could play offense. Coach Parker had said that was okay. So Dwight came back, and we started something that became special. And Dwight, that was a little bump in your path towards greatness, but I was so pleased to have you back. Dwight, I wish you well. I hope you're feeling well. Congratulations to your family. I hope to see you very, very soon. I tried to think of one short way to describe you on this night of your honor. And, certainly you were athletic, and you could jump and you could catch and you could do a lot of really good things. But I remember one thing late in the spring practice that early year, and this is how I like to remember you. You were never first in the first sprint of the day, but you were always first in the last sprint of the day. And that tells me a lot about your character. Rumi, congratulations. Look forward to seeing you in a few weeks, and have a great evening.
First time I ever met Dwight Clark, we were Garinger High School in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was playing in the North Carolina-South Carolina Shrine Bowl game. Coming off the practice field, here comes this gangly 6'4", 200-pound kid, kind of sandy blonde, brown hair. Dwight's one of the best-looking guys. I mean, women love Dwight. So I see him, he comes up and he introduces himself, and the way Dwight said, well, I guess I wasn't good enough to get in this game, was I? And I knew then I liked him because he was competitive. And what a wonderful teammate. He made that catch against the Dallas Cowboys. And I loved his line. It's so Dwight Clark. Everson Walls, after he catches the ball, looks at him and said, you just beat America's team? He said, well, in 2 weeks you can sit at home with the rest of America and watch us play in the Super Bowl. But I too, like Steve Fuller, like to speak about number 30. That's what I remember Dwight as. And as I played with the Cardinals for 11 years, played against Dwight, and a lot more fun playing with him than it was against him. And we were playing Maryland in 1978. And we had been a dry spell at Clemson for 10 or 12 years. And we're playing for the ACC championship. Both of us were 9-1, and we're playing in Maryland. And Dwight probably caught 15 passes his senior year at Clemson. We ran the ball all the time. And here we got a first-round draft pick quarterback, Steve Fuller. We got 2 first-round draft pick wide receivers, Perry Tuttle and Jerry Butler. And our third wide receiver was Dwight. And we throw the ball 15 times a game. I don't know how smart our coaches were, but we end up 11-1, and we're 6th in the country. And Dwight catches the ball right across the middle and runs 63 yards for a touchdown and keeps us in the game and gives us an opportunity to win the ACC championship. We end up winning that game. And, a lot of fond memories with Dwight. I saw a special, The Book of Manning, the other day. And it was something Archie Manning said that reminded me so much of Dwight Clark. He said he was riding to school at Ole Miss with his father. And his dad was driving the car, and they were going to school for the first time. And he says, Dad, he said, man, what kind of classes should I take? Man, what should I major in? What should I, all this and all that. And he said his dad looked at him. He says, Archie, you'll figure that out. He said, you know what I want? I want you to be a good guy. And that was Dwight Clark. He was a good guy. Everybody liked Dwight Clark. And, and he called me the other day, and I was talking to him. We were on the golf course. I was attempting to play golf. My brother Jeff can play golf. I can't. But I was attempting to play golf. And so Dwight called in the middle of the round and started talking. His talk is slow, and and this disease has started to really affect him. And I told him, I said, Dwight, I said, you would go across the middle, and I said, you were the best I've ever seen. You never dropped a ball across the middle. And so as his slow talk goes, he said, Joe, I kind of figured out that I was going to get the hell knocked out of me. He said, I just kind of thought I might as well go ahead and catch the ball while I'm at it. And that was the way he was. He never shied away from the middle. He never had alligator arms, and all the guys that play know that guys kind of, their arms get a little short, and Dwight Clark was, and he would get hit. But I know Dwight would love to be here. I wish I were sitting down here, and I wish Dwight Clark were here. He is a wonderful man, a wonderful person, and this ALS it's just a bad deal. But he will do what he has to do with grace and dignity. And I want to tell Dwight how much I appreciate him thinking enough of me to allow me to come here and be a part of this. I wish I didn't have to do this. But I remember the last little thing I want to say here. I watched the Gale Sayers movie, Brian Piccolo movie, as a little kid. And Billy D. Williams plays Gale Sayers in that movie. And he gets a big award, and he says, he said this award's for Brian Piccolo and all this, but the thing I'd like to say was something he said in that movie was when you get home tonight and you get ready to hit your knees, say a prayer for my friend, Dwight, and hope that God will look over him, will watch over him, will protect him, and be with him through a very difficult time. And I would appreciate it if each person would do that. And may God bless each and every one of you, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here.